Hey guys, 40 the Broadway Saiyan here. Welcome to my YouTube channel with another video on the global version of Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. In today's video, I'm bringing you guys part 5 of the awakenings that the global version of the game is going to be receiving, featuring 6 characters like all awakening batches. Something interesting about this awakening batch is that 3 characters originally that awakened in this batch in the JP version of the game have been switched around, so now we're going to be getting Jecht, Sabin, and Faris, who originally were not a part of this batch. So it's going to make things a little bit interesting as far as the global version of the game. Kind of changes things up for these characters because now that they're getting their awakenings early, it kind of means that they have a little bit more time to shine, which is great. It's good for these characters. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into part 5 of Awakenings. So first of all, just a little bit of a primer on Awakenings if you guys are new to the game. It means that the character's level cap mentioned on in this video is going to be increased to 60. So that means they're going to be getting increased stats. They're going to have new passives, more CP to play around with, and ability extensions. You're also going to get tier 4 high shards for the corresponding colors, which you can earn through the heretic event in this particular awakening. And then, like we mentioned earlier, the 6 characters getting in this awakening are going to be Jecht, Faris, Fujin, Vincent, Sabin, and Tifa. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And something that I did add to part 5 and moving forward to the rest of the series is how many exact total resources you need to awaken a character from a particular level to another. So this is from 51 to 60, you have the numbers right there, and then from 1 to 60, you have the numbers right there. In the event that any of these characters, you for some reason still have them at level 1. So hopefully this part of the video actually helps you guys out in understanding just exactly how much you need to get a character all the way to 60 from the particular level. So the first character is going to be Sabin, our Dark Crystal Awakened character. At 54, he's going to have buff speed up. It's going to be giving him a medium speed increase as long as he's buffed. At 55, he has Aura Cannon Extend. Now it also deals 4 Brave hits. It has a 240% overall Brave damage potency, and then it has a 290% overall Brave damage potency to Ghost. It also inflicts Holy Imperil because this ability has the Holy Element for 4 turns, so then that way you're dealing even more damage. And then this also changes his Brave Attack to Brave Attack Plus, which his Brave Attack Plus is going to be a standard one-hit melee Brave Attack with a 180% overall Brave damage potency, and it's going to be dealing even more damage to Ghost because Sabin is the Ghost Killer at 230%. At 58, he's going to have Buff Attack and Boost Up. He's going to be getting a 40% increase to his attack, as well as a 60% Max Brave increase as long as he is buffed. And then at 60, he gets Razor Gale Extend for his ability 2. When you're using it, it's going to be having a 180% overall Brave damage potency. If you're using it against a ghost, it's at 230%. If you're using it just on a single target, it's at 240%. And then if that single target happens to be a ghost, it's at a whopping 290%. This now also deals HP damage, AoE HP damage. However, it is divided evenly amongst targets if they're multiple, but if they're single, well, hey, that single target's taking the full brunt of the attack. And it also inflicts Wind Imperil, and since this attack is a wind-based attack, with that Imperil, it allows him to deal more damage with it. So the verdict on Sabin is, he is the Ghost Killer. He awakens with some pretty nice upgrades, so he does get an amazing aura to himself with this level 58 passive. Both of his abilities can imperil for their respective elements and deal more damage. And lastly, both of his abilities deal HP damage. And now he has the option to deal AoE HP damage, so he's a little bit more flexible. Now, while he is locked to 2 different elements, which could potentially lower his damage output if you're up against a target who resists them, still don't count him out. He's one of those characters in this batch awakening that people may sleep on, but for now, with the global version of the game, he's actually able to deal a pretty significant amount of damage as long as you build around him. And now something that I did add to these awakening videos is, what are the top priority artifact passes for these characters? For Sabin, it's going to be Max Brave plus 330, Attack plus 108, and Mighty Razor Gale. The second character we're going to talk about is Faris, our blue character who's going to be getting a Crystal Awakening. At 54, she gets debuff attack and boost up, so she gets a 40% increase to attack and max brave as long as an enemy is debuffed. It's pretty easy to get that as far as with Faris because she is a debuffer. At 55, she gets Water World Extend. 2 uses additional to her this ability, as well as lowering the mastery requirement by 1, which all the Final Fantasy V characters have that mastery requirement, which is slows them down a little bit to achieving their full potential, but hey, reducing that by 1 helps Faris out. This ability now has a 160% overall Brave damage potency. For the plus version, it's at 220%, and then if the target or targets are debuffed, it's now at 210% for the base version, and then 270% for the plus version, which is pretty good. She also deals HP damage after the Brave hits, which helps her out even more, so then that way, you're not just dealing the Brave attacks for nothing, you're actually able to do some HP damage afterwards. And then, she also changes her Brave attack to Brave Attack Plus, which is going to be a melee Brave attack that deals 150% overall Brave damage potency. And then at 58, she gets Master Boost and Speed All. So this is going to be an aura that is provided to the party, which is going to be a 20% increase to max Brave and Speed after she masters an ability. So this helps your party out now, which is pretty good. Gives her a little bit of support there. And then at level 60, she gets Cannon Fire Extend. 2 uses additional to this ability. Now deals AoE Brave damage, which makes sense because it looks like she's launching these cannonballs from like a pirate ship out of nowhere. And then it's going to have a 190% overall Brave damage potency. For the plus versions at 240%. And then the debuffs that it inflicts have a potency increase. The poison is now based on 70% of initial Brave. The attack down is now to minus 50%. And then the defense down is now down to minus 50% as well. So the verdict on Faris is, so with level 60, she's going to become one of the best debuffers for the global version of the game. If you have her level 35 passive, it makes her even better because now Cannon Fire can dispel, which is amazing. So that way, it gets rid of any buffs that the enemy has, and then she lands those debuffs. Now, something about Faris is that her damage output is not that high because her attack stat's kind of low. But remember, you're using her as a debuffer. So if you're looking for a good debuffer, she's going to be a great option for your team composition. And top priority artifact passives are Max Brave plus 330, Attack plus 108, and Mighty Water World 2-star. So then that way, her actual damaging ability with the HP attack is dealing more damage. The next character we're going to talk about, our Red Crystal affiliate user, is going to be Jecht. A lot of people are excited about this. So at 54, he gets buff base and speed up, which increases his initial Brave by 100% and small speed up as long as he is buffed. At 55, he gets Beat Rush Extend, which gives him a 210% overall Brave damage potency for both variants. And then this also allows his Brave to overflow up to 120% of his max Brave for both of the variants. At 58, he gets his 58 passive, which increases his attack by 40% as long as he is buffed. So then that way he's able to deal more Brave damage. And then at 60, he gets Jecht Slash Extend, which increases the overall damage of this ability to 160%, and then the plus version, because he attacks twice, is at 340%, which is one of the largest percentages we've seen so far. And then it also gives this ability a Brave overflow of up to 120% of his max Brave. So my verdict on Jecht is, with this initial awakening, it's going to help him deal way more damage now. He also now has a while he does have a requirement to be at 30% or greater of his max Brave, it is a very low percentage. This is not going to be very difficult to hit. Depending on your party comp, Jecht should be landing the plus variants of his abilities quite often. And he also has some nice auras coming from both his 54 and 58 passives. And with his awakening coming to us a little bit earlier, he's going to have more time to shine as another option for an all-out attacker. And the top priority passives for him are going to be Attack plus 108, Initial Brave plus 170, and Max Brave plus 330. And the reason why I mentioned the Initial Brave is because of the requirement. His Brave needs to be 30% or greater of his max Brave. If you have his initial Brave starting off higher, it's easier to hit that percentage. So Jecht's going to be a pretty good character to awaken for this. The awakening next that we're going to be getting is Fujin, our green crystal character. At 54, she gets Wind Attack and Boost Up, which gives her a 40% increase to her attack and max Brave as long as she's under her Wind stance. For her 55 passive is Annihilate Extend, plus 1 usage to the ability, 90% overall Brave damage potency, 110% overall potency for the plus variant, and a speed up potency increase for that speed buff. At 58, she's going to be getting Wind Boost All. This is a 20% max Brave increase to the party while under the Wind stance. And then at 60, she gets Pulverize Extend, plus 2 usage to the ability, 200% overall brave damage potency for the base version, and then 240% for the plus version. Her attack up buff is going to be increased to 40%, and then it also grants enchantment to the party for 6 turns, which grants the entire party the wind element to their abilities. Now, what is my verdict on Fujin? As nice and cool as her awakening sounds, she did get a little bit better. Unfortunately, she's probably going to be benched. In this batch, we have another character who kind of specializes in wind named Sabin. But Sabin actually gets a pretty good percentage, and he gets an Imperil, and he has other damaging abilities to fall back on, whereas Fujin, she still kind of remains, unfortunately, forgotten. And I'm only trying to be honest here, and I do apologize in advance to those of you that like Fujin. The only reason why I'm being honest and letting you know that investing in her may not be the greatest idea is because it's really lackluster what she's getting. And as a new player or a free-to-play player, you know, I want to be honest with you guys and let you guys know if this character is going to be worth it or not. So for somebody like Fujin, she's a character for fun. If you like her, go ahead and build her up. Go ahead and awaken her. And if not, save your green crystals for somebody else. For top priority passives, if you decide to build her up, attack plus 108, max brave plus 330, and then storm and stress boost 2-star, which helps out her level 50 passive. The next character we're going to talk about is Vincent, who is a fan favorite. Actually, in this character batch of Awakenings, he is the one that a lot of people are looking forward to. So at 54, he gets Start Speed Up, which increases his speed for 3 turns. At 55, he gets Deadly Beast Flare Extend, which now allows his ability to deal AoE Brave damage. It also allows him to deal HP damage to 1 target. It also lowers the action delay. The initial Brave debuff that this inflicts is now increased to 80%, and then the Enchant Fire buff is extended to 8 turns, which is pretty good. And then at 58, he gets Debuff, Attack, and Boost Up, which gives him a 40% attack and max Brave increase while the enemy is debuffed. At 60, he gets Live Wire Shot Extend, gives him 2 additional usages to this ability, and it also allows him to deal AoE HP damage. Now it also deals HP damage to a single target, and it also gives the max Brave buff increase in potency to 60%. So my verdict on Vincent is he was already amazing as a debuffer, and now with this awakening, he becomes one of the best investments from batch 5, because not only does he have imperils for his 2 elements, he now has AoE Brave damage for more chances to score Brave breaks and HP damage at the end of his skills for 1 target. And don't forget that his attack debuff is so high that whenever you inflict it on an enemy, whatever that enemy deals against your allies or your party, it's like they're hitting you with the power of a toothpick. So overall, he is a great character in this batch to invest on and use your high shards on. And his top priority artifact passives are going to be Attack plus 108, Max Brave plus 330, and Mighty Live Wire Shot 2-star. The last character we're going to cover is Tifa. She's going to be our Yellow Crystal Awakened character. At 54, she gets Buff Attack and Speed Up, which gives her a 30% attack increase, as well as a small speed increase when she's buffed. At 55, she gets Beat Rush Extend, 210% overall Brave damage potency on a standard target. If it's a skeleton, it's increased to 360%. It also allows her Brave to overflow for up to 150% of her max Brave, and if her Brave reaches 100% of her max Brave or more, she follows up with an HP attack. And then at 58, she gets Battle Cry Attack, which gives her a 40% attack increase when Zangan Wei unique buff is active. And then at level 60, she gets Battle Cry Extend, which increases the potency of her Brave battery to herself, now based on 120% of her attack. It also extends the duration for max Brave up and Zangan Wei by 2 turns, and it lowers the action delay. So the verdict on Tifa is she's like Sabin. She specializes in dealing more damage to different types of, particular types of enemies. However, take a look at her auras at 54 and 58. They actually have pretty good percentages. And now that one of her abilities that actually deals damage has Overflow, she can actually, if you think about it, perform well, not only as a skeleton killer, but overall as a pretty good attacker and damage dealer. So she's one of those characters that you don't want to sleep on. And you should consider building her up, but if you decide not to, there are other good options, but just letting you know, she's not a character that you want to sleep on with this awakening. Top priority artifact passives for her are going to be Attack plus 108, Max Brave plus 330, and Mighty Beat Rush 2-star. Alright guys, that is going to conclude my video for Awakenings Part 5. Hopefully this helps you guys out in deciding on which character of this batch you're going to awaken. It's going to be pretty exciting. I'm excited to see what else they decide to do with the global version of the game. They like to change things up, but that's cool. It makes things a little bit more interesting. Once again, I am 40 the Broadway saying stay tuned for the next video, and mahal everyone.